her to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470. WNN.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. So, who's going to do what? Flashlights?
Nowhere to be found.
Where to be found? Batteries?
Dead.
Great. Emergency supply kits?
Not packed.
No. What about blankets?
We have an old towel.
Good enough. Cell phones?
May not work.
Emergency water?
Not a drop.
And what about food?
Nope.
Perfect. We all know where we're meeting if we're separated, yeah?
The library.
Aunt Joan's house. The bus stop.
Great. And I'll be waiting here wondering where you all are. Sounds like we don't have a plan. Who's up for mini golf?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. A public service announcement brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Talk 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach. Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Psst. Yeah, it's me, your heart. Listen to me. We've got to talk. High blood pressure is serious, and yours? Whoa. What happened to us? We used to be so much more active. But lately you've been ignoring me. I know you think I'm just gonna keep ticking away forever, but you're wrong. You can do so much more to control your high blood pressure. Doing the minimum isn't doing enough. I'm under a lot of pressure and can quit whenever I want. Bet you didn't know that. But I like my job. Just treat me better. Check on me. Give me something green to nibble on every once in a while. And maybe we can do some exercise on occasion. Let's get to it. After all, we're in this together.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
AM 1470 WNN with more of what you need to know. Tune in for the Jill Dane Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. AM 1470 WNN.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll develop a foot ulcer that can lead to severe health consequences, including amputation. At the Sole Authority, at little or no cost, you can receive your very own therapeutic shoes and custom inserts. Medicare recipients are entitled to 1 pair of quality diabetic shoes and 3 custom inserts. Call the Sole Authority today, 954-597-7060.
If you've decided to get back to feeling good again like you used to feel, then you're invited to tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob, at your service Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
This is Talk 1470.
Talk 1470.
WNN.
The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Schub, and tonight, like we usually do, we're going to be talking a little bit of golf. We're going to be talking some travel. We're going to recap my own travels from this past week. And, well, it's been a busy week. We're also going to talk to a guest in just a little bit. We've going to be talking to Robert Duke, and he is the director of golf for Gasparilla Island Golf Club. That was my last stop, and I kind of pitched this on Facebook as my tour of golf where I played desert, mountain, and sea golf. And for a guy who doesn't get to play as often as many of you might think, since, I am in the golf media and travel media, and people think that that's all I do all the time, and to some people it may seem that way. I sometimes do go weeks, if not months, without having an opportunity to play any golf at all. So when in 1 week's time you get to play such a diverse group of interesting and unique and beautiful golf courses and stay in some pretty cool places and see some interesting things, it's certainly a good week. So I feel bad that I missed talking to you all live last week. But this week we have a lot to talk about, and actually for the next couple of weeks I'll probably be having guests spread out from my trip from several of the different places, and we'll talk, in more depth. But I did want to just touch a little bit on it and just give you the brief rundown on kind of where I've been and what I've been up to. Of course, a little bit later in the show, we will also have some of Dan's deals, and actually have an interesting story about deals today that I did want to share as well. There's always deals. I don't only tell you all about it, I actually live it too. And actually, why don't I talk a little bit about that first, and then I'll catch you all up on my week of travel. So today I actually needed to book some hotel or lodging for a business trip that I need to take. And I'm doing it by car because, as we'll talk a little bit later, perhaps if we get a chance about the TSA and the long lines and security at the airports, and sometimes it just pays to get in your car and drive because it's just as fast, especially if you can't get a direct flight from an airport nearby. And then if you've got to drive on the other end as well from wherever you're landing, it's just sometimes faster. And so I needed to take this ride up to North Carolina, and I'm going to be working the last day I'm up there more than half the day, so it's a little bit too far to drive all the way back to Florida from North Carolina. So I thought I'd make a pit stop halfway, and that would put me in Savannah, which is a great town that I talk about from time to time. A great place to visit, good for foodies, history, just a neat place to make a pit stop along the way, or to spend a few days if you have the opportunity to do that. So, as you all know, I have my own little rituals and places where I find deals. And while I typically like to book direct with hotels and airlines and car rental places, sometimes you do get better deals indirect. And usually I'll start my journey and my search by taking a look at Trivago, which is a website for hotels where they then direct you to other websites where you actually do your booking, typically third party, sometimes direct with the resorts. Unfortunately for me, they've invested tons of money in advertising, and it's a place that I used to know and nobody else knew. And of course, hotels and airline tickets, the prices are, based on supply and demand. So the more advertising they do and the more people that know my little secret, the tougher it is for all of us to find a good deal. But for this little pit stop, I just wanted to take a quick look, but, see what I could find, if there's a real nice hotel that's right in the historic part of Savannah, just for this one night. And I noticed that a beautiful resort that happens to be across the river, it's the Westin Golf Resort, and the PGA Tour or the Champions Tour, I believe, actually has been playing there for many, many years. It's a beautiful resort just on the other side of the river from the historic area. They run a ferry to the historic area, and the going price on Westin's website was about $167. Plus, of course, a resort fee of $24, plus a parking fee, and, not a bad price for a place like that. But for some reason, the cheapest site that Trivago recommended for this particular property happened to have been Priceline, with a rate of $39 for that same night. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, all right, maybe this is a mistake, and if it is, I better hurry, because they typically correct mistakes. If you grab it right away, they'll honor it. But so I thought about it, and then I thought about the $26, resort fee, the taxes that they're going to add on top of that, the charge for self-parking or valet parking. And I thought, well, let me see what else they have here on Priceline. So I just clicked for all the rest of the hotels for Savannah for that same night. And interestingly enough, they had some sale going on. So it wasn't a mistake. And there were other hotels all in the historic part of Savannah. And this was a Thursday night, so, heading into a weekend, but a business night. How about rooms at like the Hampton Inn, which includes a free breakfast for $27, which is normally like $130 or $40. They had the DoubleTree, which got some great reviews. I believe it was also $27. They had the Hilton Garden Inn for $27. The Embassy Suites, I believe, was $41, which I ended up booking because you get cocktails in the evening, even though, an hors d'oeuvres, I probably will get there too late for that, and a free cooked for, to order breakfast, including an omelet station in the morning. Well, lo and behold, of course, the taxes, and then I think that they added a couple of extra dollars into the fee as well on Priceline. But when all was said and done, the total price out the door for a night at an Embassy Suites in the cool part of town was $66. I was speechless. I just couldn't believe it. So the lesson here is hunt for sales, and you never know where you're going to find them. And I really did quite well. Also, I did want to say, speaking of quite well, on this trip that I'm going to tell you all about in a couple of minutes or so, or perhaps after our guest, it may wait. But a new vendor that I found some great deals on, and they're continuing to have them because I did look for this other trip to North Carolina too, is a car rental firm called Sixt. That's SIXT. They're in about 10 or 15 different locations at the airports around the country. They're not everywhere yet. Been around for a few years, a German company. And I rented a 5 Series BMW for considerably less money than a compact car was with the other companies. And when you're taking a long drive, that's pretty cool. So if you're looking for an upgraded vehicle, check out Sixt, and you might be surprised at the kind of prices you get. So this trip that I took briefly took me from here to Phoenix, Scottsdale area, where I stayed at a very, very cool little resort, golf resort and casino resort called Wecopa. And it's just on the outskirts of Scottsdale. 2 beautiful golf courses that I had an opportunity to play. One, the Saguaro, and excellent desert golf, almost not a house to be seen. I think 1 or 2 holes. There was a house in the distance, well manicured. The people were friendly, a little bit pricey in the off season. It was about $120 for me, although I played with some other associates who live in the area, and they did discount for residents. But really nice. I mean, if you want to get away from it all and just be surrounded by nature and kind of live the Indian lifestyle out there, be one with the desert. And I do recommend Wecopa. And I found it also on a different website that I sometimes use, which is either Jet Setter or Gilt. And this deal was also on TravelZoo, which is my typical go-to place. And it still may be there. I think I mentioned it before. $79, $10 in taxes and fees, no resort charge, no parking fee. Great deal. I think they even threw in, I didn't bother to get it, but I could have gotten $10 in free play on the slots. So, and Secret Escapes, I believe, is the back workings of both of those websites, and they put together all these deals on travel worldwide. You can get some really, really good deals there, but that as well. I mean, $89 total out the door, just a great deal. In a little bit, we're going to talk about the rest of my trip, which took me from there to Sedona, where I got to visit multiple properties in Sedona. Did not get to play golf there. From there, Denver, stayed downtown and did get to play at the Omni Interlaken, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And also next week, I believe their director of golf is going to be joining us, so we'll talk a little bit more in depth. And then my final stop on this trip, we already mentioned the desert. We mentioned the mountains outside of Denver. And my last stop was a little bit closer to home at the Gasparilla Inn, where I did get a chance to play some golf on a great course. And we will talk about that in depth in just a minute or two, because our guest we're going to have in just a minute or so is Robert Duke, the director of golf for the Gasparilla Island Golf Club. Just a lovely place, relaxing, right by the water, well manicured, beautiful. I enjoyed my stay there. Everything about that resort is just chill. It's just really, really cool. So you don't want to miss this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be talking about Gasparilla Island. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned for more of the Golf and Travel Show. We'll be right back. And we are back. Time for a quick message from our sponsor, Labor Finders. If your business needs industrial workers or if you're looking for work, you got to call Labor Finders. Labor Finders places for temporary or temporary to hire opportunities for skilled, semi-skilled, or general labor positions such as plumbers, electricians, concrete workers, forklift operators, office clerical workers, and so much more. Labor Finders has almost 200 offices nationwide. Near here in Boca Raton, they have offices in Homestead, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Jupiter. So if you need legal, insured, hard workers, or if you're looking for work, call Labor Finders toll free at 800-864-7749. That's 800-864-7749, or just visit laborfinders.com. And we are back. And as I mentioned, this was a great week for me, playing a little bit of golf in the desert, in the foothills of the Rockies, and by the sea. Just on the other side of the state, a couple-hour trip, the west coast of Florida. It's different than the east coast of Florida. Nice place to visit, good getaway. It's always nice to change it up. It's certainly unique and different. And to have an opportunity to spend a little bit of time at the Gasparilla Inn and Club was just really cool for me. So, but to find out a little bit more about the golf course and the resort and what makes this place so special and unique, I figured we may as well go to one of the experts, and that would be the director of golf for the Gasparilla Island Golf Club, Robert Duke. Robert, are you with us?
I'm with you. How are you?
I am great. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. It was nice to have a chance to meet you the other day and to experience just for a short bit of time what you get to experience all the time. And it must be very, very cool. Now, you've been at the Gasparilla Club over there for several years, correct?
Right. I got there in 2005, so this is my 11th year.
And prior to that, when you worked at lesser places, what was it that brought you here? Because, I mean, obviously you're at one of the best places right now.
Well, definitely. I was at a great club in Tennessee called the Honors Course in Chattanooga, and found out that they were looking for somebody to run the show here, and it just kind of worked out. You know, one of those great things that kind of happened.
Yeah, these jobs don't become available too often because nobody wants to leave them.
That's right. The gentleman that I took his place, he was there for about 32 years. So, you know, he retired, and it was just it was perfect timing for me.
Well, why don't we talk, I want to talk a little bit about everything there because it is such a special place. But I know that in reading some information, I don't know if it was in the media kit that I got to see or on your website, the golf course itself was described as the jewel of the Gasparilla Inn and Club. So obviously it gets a tremendous amount of respect even on the island and, in the community. So why don't we talk a little bit about the golf course? Now, the resort I know has been there for over 100 years. The golf course wasn't there from the start. So why don't you explain a little bit about when it, began and who built it?
Sure. Well, the inn opened in 1913, and there was a golf course on the southern end of the island, which was a 9-hole course. And in 1933, they decided to build the golf course very close to the inn. It's interesting, nobody really knows who designed the course to begin with. And over the years, it kind of morphed into, from tees to green to getting a little more interesting. And then in 2004, Pete Dye came in and totally redid the golf course. So it's old, but it's new as well.
Yeah, it's kind of unique. And as I tried to explain, and I said to you, it's an unusual piece of land. It's not huge, and to have Pete Dye kind of figure out how to make it flow and fit in and work probably was like a difficult puzzle, I can only imagine. But it seems that unlike some golf courses, he didn't have to do too much to it because it just seems so natural. It's just the natural beauty of the waterfront land that you have there.
Right. Well, it's interesting. A lot of people will come in and they'll talk about their round and how much they enjoyed the golf course, but we hear so much about how they love to see the birds and the animals in the ocean. So it's interesting. It's unique in that you can see the ocean, the water from every hole that you play, which a lot of quote unquote seaside courses you really don't. And from here, it's just a great spot. I mean, you're definitely on vacation when you're playing the golf course.
Yeah, there were a few holes where I felt like I was maybe 10 feet from the water. I mean, that's how, close. Like I could have been just off the fairway, yet 10 or 15 feet from, being in the water.
Right. What I think is our signature hole is number 15. It's a slight dog leg left, and it's right on the water. You hit your second shot, and you feel like you're almost hitting it right into the water because the green just sits right on the seawall. Just a beautiful, beautiful hole.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, a lot of birds, and you can see, I'm assuming it was a little bit in the distance, but perhaps some dolphins jumping out there as well.
All the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was seeing. Now, I was fortunate. Obviously, this is, your peak season, of course, is, I'm assuming, like Christmas to Easter or something, and now it's a little bit quieter, and I was very fortunate to not have to share the front nine with too many people. And I played one of the better rounds I've played in a long time, so it was really, really nice. But I was just also very impressed with the way the course is manicured. I know that when you are by the sea, the elements can make it probably difficult to keep the maintenance level at the level that you have there. So why don't you talk a little bit about what's involved in keeping it that well manicured with the conditions that you have there?
Well, sure. Well, first of all, our superintendent, Jeff Strother, and his staff are just phenomenal. They do a great job. Every little detail, they just really keep a great eye on it. The turf is actually Seashore Paspalum, which is, a lot of people know, is kind of a coastal variety of turf, very salt tolerant. So it's a great turf for our area.
Yeah, no, and the greens were just so true. They just, like I said, I had just played a couple of rounds. I don't get to play that often, and obviously, the little bit of practice helped, but the conditioning just made it so easy. I kind of felt like the pros, when they complain if any blade of grass isn't right because they want to go really low. I felt like the course was allowing me to go low. It wasn't hindering me. Not that it wasn't a challenge, but, it's a resort course, and it's kind of nice to be able to have a good lie to hit your shots,
Absolutely. Well, you're going to have a good lie pretty much everywhere. But it's a good test of golf. From the gold tees, it plays 7,000 yards. The greens are definitely the protection of the golf course. You better have a pretty good short game to play there, or at least to score there.
Yes.
There's no forced carry, so you're not going to lose 15 golf balls when you play around a golf. So the pace of play is fantastic. It's 3.5 to 345 for a round. Yep. So everybody gets around there pretty good.
Now, obviously, we could talk golf forever because we're golfers, but some of the people who listen or some of the people who visit do other things. So, first of all, obviously, golfers, we like to have a cold brew. We like to have something to eat. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the options for the golfers or the non-golfers when they're at the resort or on the island, maybe some where you would go to eat over there?
Sure, absolutely. Well, definitely right at the gazebo at our clubhouse. It's great to have a little cocktail or beer or water or whatever right after you play. Probably one of the best views on the island is right there at the golf shop. And then in the end, we have Beezy's Bar, which is a great spot as well, and Pink Elephant. Great food, great drink. just a really, really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, the Pink Elephant I did have an opportunity to eat at, and had the sea bass, which was just excellent. And their dessert, one of the desserts I had was like in a mason jar. It was almost like it was like a banana cream pie in a jar or something. It was delicious.
Absolutely, right.
Very, very cool. Now, another thing that I always enjoy doing if I have a chance after I'm done with the golf is perhaps hit the spa. And again, perhaps the non-golfing spouses, if there are any out there, might want to do that. So there is a spa on the island, right? The resort.
Beautiful spa at the end. We've got a beach club that's just, a great view out into the Gulf. And there's a great workout facility, spa. You can get a massage. It's just a great place to hang out.
Yeah, I took a look at the workout facility. Of course, I just looked. I didn't do anything, but I did notice that it's got the beautiful water view. So if you do have to work out, if you're going to be on a machine, you may as well be looking at that. You could pretty much get mesmerized and forget the workout that you're participating in. So that was pretty cool. The view was just excellent. Now, the club itself, I found a little bit unique in that it actually closes during the summer for a couple of months, correct?
Right. The Inn's been closing since 1913 every summer. It gives us a good chance, really, with the golf course to do any maintenance we need to do. While we're open, we really don't do any aerification per se, where a lot of courses do it, and they've got a week or two that the greens have to heal. Basically, when we're open from October 6th or 8th until the end of the season, July 5th or 6th, we're in pretty good shape. Really good shape.
Yeah, I really don't know of too many golf courses or resorts anywhere that have the luxury or the ability to close down for that period of time. It strikes me as unusual.
Well, it is. There's a lot of private clubs around the country that do that.
Mm-hmm.
But, we just happen to be a resort in Southwest Florida that we've got a few members that they all go up north to their homes. And then with the Inn closing, there's just no reason to stay open. So this gives us a great time to do all of our maintenance and projects. Last year, we redid every bunker on the golf course. The year before, we redid every tee. So, there's always things to do, always ways to improve.
Now, the accommodations are a little unique as well. I was in I guess I'd call it a cottage, which was overlooking a couple of the holes right by the clubhouse. But there's the original inn, I guess, as well, that some people have rooms. And then there are some bigger houses, I suppose, for foursomes of folks that go, or families, larger families. Or why don't you just talk briefly about, the kind of lodging that's there or what you like?
Sure. Well, the main inn has, I believe, 64 rooms under the inn, beautiful dining room, living room to hang out in, great bar. And then there are cottages, little guest cottages, and I think they're from 4 bedrooms to 8 bedrooms. And then last year we opened some new estate homes, which I think what you were talking about, more for a family of 4, a family of 6 to go and all be under one roof.
It's just very, very different to me. It's like it's island life. You don't necessarily live on the beach. You kind of live in this community, this island community. And I also found the little town very cool too. I for breakfast I went to the Inn's Bakery in town, and I felt so small town family like. I don't know. It was just a very relaxing overall feeling.
Right. A lot of people kind of compare it to Cape Cod or Nantucket or somewhere up north, but that small town feel, no stoplights, very relaxing, very just calm, casual, great place to be.
Now, I visit your coast every once in a while, and I'm always in a different place, and I kind of always forget where is where. One minute I'm in Naples, and then it's Fort Myers or Sarasota or up in the Panhandle or wherever, and I kind of get confused because time goes by in between trips. Why don't you try and explain kind of where you are so that when people are listening, they have a better idea of where you're situated?
Right. We're probably about halfway between Sarasota and Fort Myers. Just north of us is Venice, so we're kind of in that area. Just if you look at the map, there's a little finger that juts out, and we're at the very tip end of that finger.
And if anybody who's listening from out of the area, because we do have people who listen to our stream and whatnot, if they wanted to fly in, where would the closest airport be?
Well, the closest airport probably is in Sarasota. A lot of people fly into Fort Myers. Some people into Tampa. It kind of depends on where you're coming from, what kind of airline you're flying. So
Yeah.
I'd say the closest is Sarasota, but it seems like most people go into Fort Myers.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you're going, and I have a lot of friends, and we have listeners up in the New York metro area, and I do know that there are direct flights on JetBlue